So before we begin, quick disclaimer, I did not know about the controversy around Reading Rush until I went on Twitter this morning. This morning meaning Monday after Reading Rush. So for those who aren't caught up, apparently the hosts of Reading Rush set a book club book by a Black author and had planned to do a live show for it. And I guess come the live show, they had not read the book and spent the live show not talking about the book, basically. They spent some time laughing about how they hadn't read the book and just talked about other things the whole time, which was not a good look. Token activism rarely is. I know some people have been angry and talking about how they're not gonna post the rest of their Reading Rush vlogs. Of course, I might hesitate to do Reading Rush in the future if they don't properly apologize for what happened. But goddamn, I am going to post this vlog. I do not want any of this footage to go to waste. And apart from setting the prompts for this readathon, I think those two individuals have very little to do with my individual reading accomplishments this past week. And of course, I want to share those things with you. So yeah, that was a rundown of the controversy and a message to those people who might be aware of it. But here you go. Here's my vlog. Hello all, I hope you're doing amazing during this Reading Rush week. Today is actually day 2 of Reading Rush. I didn't vlog day 1, which was yesterday of course, because I was busy spending it finishing this book. This is The Phantom of Menace, which is of course based on The Phantom Menace, the first of the prequel trilogy in Star Wars. Yeah, I was finishing this book because I am bad at planning. As you can see, vlogging is not my most comfortable state of filming. I haven't vlogged in forever, I think since my trip to Brighton. In fact, I don't think I've ever done a reading vlog before because a lot of times I just kind of go with the flow and just read whenever, and I'm not always ready to vlog those moments, nor do I often feel like vlogging those moments. So yeah, usually my reading goes with the flow. And yesterday I wasn't even reading a lot for Reading Rush. I mean, I only just started my ebook for the Miniaturist late last night. But yeah, I was just finishing this book, which I immensely enjoyed. I gotta say, the prequel dialogue does work well in a Shakespearean context, but there are some bizarre decisions that I wasn't sure I agreed with. So one of the most unpopular characters from the prequels was Jar Jar, right? So I think this book tried to fix that by making Jar Jar secretly smart. But the whole thing about Jar Jar, what gives him his charm, is that he's this wholesome klutz who fails up. So when you say Jar Jar is secretly smart, you add a whole new layer of complication to all of his actions. So yeah, that was an aspect of the book that I did not get on with. Another thing is that when Qui-Gon dies, he has this line, "Et tu, Sith," but the thing is that line is lifted from Caesar, and that line, "Et tu, Brute," is because Caesar's surprised at being betrayed by someone he was close to, and Qui-Gon was never close to Darth Maul, who killed him, so why would he say a line like that? It just doesn't land the same way. But overall, yes, I really enjoyed this book. It's a quite slim book, but still took me a couple days to read because it's still Shakespearean prose, and you still have to read it carefully in order to pick up everything that's going on in the text. But today, I am going to be starting North and South. I also have the audiobook for this because I find with classics and dense fantasy, I find a combination of audio and physical, or audio and ebook, really helpful for the reading experience, because the audiobook helps push along my reading, but having the visual medium there helps me check my understanding and my comprehension. So we'll see how that goes today. Something I've been trying out lately is listening to audiobooks while playing Animal Crossing, which is super fun. So I've got a cup of coffee and a bowl of fruit upstairs, so come and read with me. You can also see behind me the disaster that is the reality of my filming space. You can also see those 3 posters that are usually behind me during the filming process. That is social media versus reality for you. again. I really haven't vlogged much today. I'm sorry about that. I'm still getting back into this whole vlogging routine, so it's just not instinctual to me anymore to really film what I'm doing during the day. But today I did read. I read, how many pages did I read? I'm 65 pages into my copy of North and South, which doesn't seem like a lot, but the thing is, the print in this book is really small. I think one thing I didn't anticipate about getting back into a work of Victorian literature again is that the Victorians, very verbose, your Dickens and so forth, very wordy crowd. So a lot of times the prose is really dense, and sometimes you have to kind of pick it apart again. I've just spent a lot of time getting used to the prose again, and a lot of times when I listen to the audiobook, I still need to look back at my physical copy for comprehension. But for now, I think I'm going to give that book a rest, and I'm probably going to go back to reading The Miniaturist. Well, before I go read The Miniaturist, my witchy book club, which I think I've talked about a couple times on this channel, we're reading The Women Who Run with the Wolves. It's a very famous book about the wild woman archetype and has been an inspiration to many witches and witchy people. So I still need to read for that, but after that, it's just going to be The Miniaturist. I have been reading today, but I've also been dealing with other logistical things in my life, housekeeping stuff. I haven't really shared this a lot on my channel yet, but I'm actually starting a PhD in the fall. So I've just been sending out emails, ironing out small details, and stuff like that. That stuff is just never fun, but you have to do it. Then over dinner, my boyfriend and I watched Cursed on Netflix. So I think everyone on the internet is talking about Cursed right now. Honestly, it's not that good. So Cursed is supposed to be a subversion of the King Arthur myth. It's about Nimue, who is the Lady of the Lake who gives Arthur the Excalibur. But this show makes her the main character and I guess the true owner of Excalibur. But it's really not that good because Nimue so far, she's not that interesting. She's really kind of a self-insert. Arthur isn't really that interesting. Their whole relationship, spoiler alert, isn't that interesting. It's not well written at all. The person who I am interested in is Daniel Sharman's character, the Weeping Monk, I think he's called. But of course I've always loved Daniel Sharman. I loved him in Medici, and I dare say he's one of the few reasons, if not the only reason, I decided to watch this show. But there was just a reveal about his character, which I called back in episode 2. So I'm very proud of myself, but also if you're paying attention to all the details, it's not hard to figure out either. Like I think the first 2 episodes, my boyfriend and I just spent the whole time just making fun of the bad fight scenes and the cliche dialogue. Like we're having fun watching it, but I don't think for the reasons the show intended. I think the show picked up its stride by around episode 3, but it's still not that great, honestly. But yeah, Cursed. It's so trashy, it's fun. Afternoon, everyone. It's day 3 of Reading Rush. We're off to a bit of a late start today because I just wasn't in a filming mood earlier today. Had a bit of a late lunch, was eating it over the OC. So if you've been following me on Twitter, you know that I have been rewatching the OC from the beginning. It's one of those shows that I watched on and off during middle school, but my family had sort of this very rare TV policy, so my sense of the overarching plot was a bit disjointed. And I think around middle of the 3rd season or so, I stopped watching because I discovered Supernatural, which became my new favorite show. I kind of had a strong urge to go back to watching it again, and I started watching it 2 weeks ago and I'm already at the season finale. I wanted to take it slow because otherwise I'll have no more OC to watch, but I ended up powering through it anyway. But anyway, today I just finished my book club reading for my book club tonight, and I have a little under 3 hours to do stuff for Reading Rush. Like I said, I'm bad at planning. So before I get into reading, I am going to make another cup of tea. I thought I was gonna make coffee, but it's almost 5. So I don't think that's a good idea. So I'm just going to make another tea. Hello everyone, it is day 4. I'm sorry I didn't vlog much last night after I left you because my camera battery died. I also had my book club last night, which dragged really late because basically we spent like an hour and a half talking about the actual book that we read and the rest of the time just talking about other stuff. I mean, I feel like for this group of witches that I'm in, a lot of times book club is a time for us to check in with each other and talk to each other about the stuff that's on our minds during the week. But I'm okay with that because we're among friends and we just want to spend time with each other. I'm almost halfway through my audiobook for North and South. I've also been following along in my physical copy as well. The thing about North and South is that people can't seem to decide where it stands ideologically. Like, some people are like, oh, well, it is capitalist propaganda. And other people are like, oh, it's Pride and Prejudice for socialists. So given that people were saying both things, I guessed that it was neither. And now that I'm halfway through the book, I think my conjecture was rather correct. I don't think it lands squarely either on the socialist camp or in the capitalist camp. I think it's sort of an explanation of both sides of that debate. I think the novel gives us an opportunity to think about things from both the free market capitalist point of view and as well as from the working man's point of view. There are moral people on both sides and there are also immoral people on both sides. And I love that our main character, Margaret, is really empathetic but is also willing to play devil's advocate when she's in debate with one person on one side or the other. My one struggle with this book has really more been turns of phrase or getting used to Victorian verbiage. So sometimes when I'm listening to the audiobook, sometimes I have to pause it and go back to the text itself and make it out. But some characters also speak in a very heavy Northern English dialect, so sometimes hearing it read to me actually makes the words make more sense to me than when I'm just reading it on a page. So the writing style is something to get used to, and I gotta say the book was quite slow in the first 8 chapters or so. But now that we're getting to our 2 main characters and getting into their motivations, I am enjoying it immensely. Last night I also read a good bit of the Miniaturist. I'm going a bit slower through that one. I just always do these days if I don't have an audiobook. I didn't really like the sound of the audiobook when I sampled it, so I didn't get it. But I'm enjoying that book too. I always love books that can bring my favorite historical periods to life. But for now, I'm gonna keep reading North and South.
On the entrance of the gentleman, he was immediately put aside. But Mr. Thornton's eager senses caught some few words of Mr. Hale's and Mr. Bell. A letter from Henry Lennox. It makes Margaret very hopeful. Mr. Bell nodded. Margaret was red as a rose when Mr. Thornton looked at her. He had the greatest mind in the world to get up and go out of the room that very instant and never set foot in the house again.
Evening, y'all. It is quite late in this neck of the woods. My boyfriend and I just finished watching Cursed, and it's not very good. I'll tell you that. There were some interesting things introduced and teased for next seasons and some reveals, but nothing actually satisfying in terms of plot and character development. So no, it's not a very good show, but you know, we had fun picking it apart. That's one thing. I am a good way through North and South now, so I think I should finish tomorrow. I listened to the audiobook on 2 times speed, and that helped me get through the book considerably quicker. So I managed to get from what, like page 65 yesterday to page 324. Okay, no. I was at page like 120 or so yesterday, but yeah, now I'm at page 324. I have maybe about 100 pages left in the book. So, yeah, excited to finally finish a book in Reading Rush, and I'll also be able to invest more time in the Miniaturist or other books in my TBR after I finish. And also, I'm really enjoying this book. Some people might not like it for like its long ideological discussions about people's kindness, and also about the nature of how strikes happen and the economics of strikes, but I enjoy it a lot. I think it's got a lot of issues it addresses that are very applicable to today. But yeah, that was my day of reading, and I will see you again tomorrow. Afternoon, everyone. It is Friday, so it is day 5 of Reading Rush. I have just sat down to lunch. I've had therapy this morning. I've been doing a bit of food planning with my boyfriend, and I've prepared some leftovers from the last few days. Alex has just got to run out to do some shopping. So I am here and getting geared up to read. I'm not gonna lie, yesterday I got off on kind of a rough start. I got in a bit of a tiff on Twitter first thing in the morning, which was not awesome. It was about Hong Kong. I angered some people by implying that it is a separate entity from China. Yeah, I just triggered some people. I really should cut off these interactions right when they start, because oftentimes you're so tempted to continue them, right? Because you don't want the other person getting the last word in or feeling like they've won. But the thing is, when they waste your time, they have also won. They have taken time away that you could have spent, I don't know, reading, time I could have spent working on YouTube. Like, sometimes there are little skirmishes that happen in the comments of, say, my Little Women video. Sometimes I maybe get involved in something about Star Wars on Twitter, but frankly, an argument about that stuff is almost soothing for me to have these days, because it means that I'm not dealing with a debate about Hong Kong and how the people there want basic human rights and autonomy and value democracy. I never felt like this stuff should have been debatable, but apparently it is. Man, I miss the days when I only got angry about Star Wars films and Little Women. Like, those were just simpler times, right? Truly the issues dividing our generations today. So yeah, that sort of thing just hung over my day yesterday, because that's just something I feel strongly about. And I'm kind of in a vulnerable period right now, just given COVID and sort of my nervousness of going into a whole new stage of my life, and also just knowing that there are horrible things happening right now that I have no agency to do anything about. That also just puts me in a vulnerable place. I'm just going to eat my lunch right now. I'm just going to cool off from everything, watch something on YouTube, and get to reading. I'm really looking forward to finishing North and South today. And I'm done. I'm done with North and South. It was an amazing book. I really, really liked it. I'm really glad I read this book, because I do really love the miniseries, but the novel definitely does go into a lot of philosophical ruminations, ideological debates that the two main characters have. Like, definitely the book is slow going at first, but when we get into our two main characters interacting with each other, it's actually really entertaining, and I really love it. And also, I think if you want to see how different social issues from the Industrial Revolution apply to the present day, definitely read this book. I mean, so many things have not changed. Like importing cheap labor from abroad to lower the costs of business, like that was a thing and still is a thing. Class warfare, of course. Of course, the clashes between socialism and capitalism, of course, an evergreen issue. But yeah, it was a really good book. I think my main complaint is that the ending is super, super abrupt. It's just like, oh, the two people got together and yeah, that's the ending. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, like I want more to this. We spent so much time with these people and now you're just going to like brush off their whole ending. So yeah, I think apart from that, I did really enjoy the book. I think, you know, I was slow getting used to the turns of phrase, the really antiquated styles. I feel like that's more my individual issue rather than an issue with the book. But I'm finished. I'm thinking to sit outside on the patio because the day is still nice outside and read volume 7 of the Meta Barons Agora, because one of the challenges is to read one book entirely outside. So I'm gonna go do that, and I think it would make a nice change of pace, nice change of scenery, even if it's still part of the house. I also need to water our plants. Well, these are really my plants. This spearmint in particular is looking a bit droopy. Finished the book. This volume was so good. I love how every book in the Meta Barons series has sort of subverted my expectations in some way. Like, it's not been predictable at all, because the thing is, the story of the Meta Barons is that every generation of this family has to go through this custom of defeating his father in combat. They have to go through a trial of pain where like they receive a mutilation and it gets replaced with a cybernetic implant, and it always goes through seeming predictable, but it always subverts your expectations in some way, but it's always so cool. But yeah, that was the penultimate book. And after the next book, I will have no more Meta Barons books, which makes me kind of sad because I've been reading this series for a while. So yeah, I finished 2 books for Reading Rush today, and after this, I am going to completely focus on the Miniaturist. I have a group chat with my witchy friends tonight, but after that, I will completely focus on reading. Hello, hello. Hope everyone's having a great afternoon. It is now day 6 of Reading Rush. I haven't been reading today. I was a bit naughty. I was watching the mini-series of North and South, which still is really good. It holds up pretty well. It's really cute. It's interesting seeing the different things they did in the adaptation to compress different people meeting up and having different conversations, because that book is really long, and even though it is a mini-series and has more room to develop all the characters, it still has to do some work tightening up the passage of information and how characters communicate with each other. So yeah, I was watching that instead of reading. And tomorrow on Sunday, I have a ritual to go to. I'm taking an active role in that ritual, so I've been doing some preparations for that, memorizing my words and the actions I have to do. So I'm gonna make myself some tea. I am going to continue doing my ritual preparations. I don't think it should take that much longer. And then hopefully I will continue reading The Miniaturist. I am about 13% of the way through my ebook. It's raining today. Looks like I made the right call to read outside yesterday instead of today. You might notice that this mug is an old Fairy Loot mug. I got it, I think, a couple years ago, back when I used to subscribe to Fairy Loot. But I try to avoid buying mugs if I don't know the source now, because a lot of ceramics are actually made in China, and I'm trying to avoid that right now. And because of Fairy Loot carrying a lot of Chinese-made goods, I haven't subscribed to them. That's why I stopped. So just because I'm boycotting Chinese-made goods doesn't mean I've thrown out the Chinese-made goods that I already have. Of course I haven't. It's not going to do anything because the exchange of money has already been made. I was just talking about how I'm boycotting Chinese-made goods.
Yeah.
Yeah, we try not to buy any more than we have to, because some essentials, of course, you have to buy.
Yeah.
Because they don't give you a choice. But
don't put yourself out too much.
Where we can avoid it, we don't buy any, because those careless decisions are what make the Chinese government rich.
Yeah, off cheap labor.
Yeah, off of cheap labor. And also there's really terrible things going on in Hong Kong right now, and also in Xinjiang with the Uyghur genocide. So I try to spread that PSA where I can. Avoid China where you can. Avoid China made when you can, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Afternoon, everybody. It is day 7 of Reading Rush. Last night, I started out at around, like 18% of the Miniaturist when I left you, and now I am at 73% of the Miniaturist, because it started out slow, but suddenly it got super intense. Basically, I've been rushing through it. I guess they call it Reading Rush for a reason. But I do have to go to a ritual in a few hours, so I'm hoping that I can finish the last 25% of the book, or at least get very close. Yeah, I'm having a pretty successful reading rush-ish. I know some people have gotten through, like 6 books this week or something, but I've just had other things going on. So yeah, I'm just going to get in a few hours of reading. And I am done with the Miniaturist. I finished my book. I have just stepped outside. I came downstairs to reheat my coffee. Because I let it go cold because I was finishing the book. Like I said, they call it Reading Rush for a reason. But yeah, it was a really good book. My boyfriend just asked me if the ending was good, and I'm like, yes, but it was also sad, but I also totally saw it coming, and I was okay with that. At a certain point, I was like, okay, it's super unrealistic and really ham if things suddenly turn around the way they're going. But there's a bit of hope at the end. It's not completely depressing. The Miniaturist, I loved how it was written. I loved the historical atmosphere of the book, and I loved the mystery. The mystery was a little bit ambiguously tied up, but also I think if you go too much into it, like with the kind of book it is, I think that would have ruined it. But yeah, to recap, I have read 3 books this reading rush. So I finished North and South, the Meta Barons Volume 7, and the Miniaturist, all in a week. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. I know that other people have read so many more books than that, and that's great for them. I think for me, just considering the kind of books that I was reading and just the time that I had, I feel pretty good about that. So I am going to grab my coffee and finish it, and then I'm going to head out to my ritual in about an hour or so. So if this is the last that you see of me in this vlog, then thank you for joining me for Reading Rush. It's been a little bit of a strange experience for me vlogging again. I know that I am terrible at vlogging and just showing people the everyday ins and outs of my life, which I know people enjoy sometimes in vlogs. I've become a lot more private since my early days of YouTubing. I prefer to just kind of talk about the things I like rather than show the ins and outs of my life. But also, as you can see, I don't have an interesting life at all. But if you like, I can also try to vlog a bit more. Do you like this type of video? Do you want more of it? Let me know down in comments. Like this vlog if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel, please. I have just passed 1,600 subscribers, so thank you so much for all of your support. You can also follow me on Twitter and Goodreads and Instagram, and I'll see you in my next video.